the man in the Mickey costume. I used to work at Disneyland. Yeah, the Disneyland, Anaheim, California, the happiest place on earth. I got the job right out of college in 2014, when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life. It wasn't my dream gig, but it paid all right, had benefits, and, hey, working for Disney sounded cool when I told people at parties. My official role? Character performer. That's a fancy way of saying I wore the Mickey Mouse costume. It's a weird job. You're invisible, in a way, not really yourself. Kids stare at you like you're magic, and adults treat you like furniture. You're both celebrity and prop, and under the suit, it's hot as hell, but I got used to it. The first thing people don't realize is how big the underground system is beneath Disneyland. We call them the utilidors, utility corridors. They're tunnels running beneath the park, letting staff move around without breaking the magic for guests. That's where we change, walk between areas, grab quick breaks. Most guests never even know they're there. I worked mainly in Fantasyland and Main Street. I had a regular route: start near Sleeping Beauty's castle, meet kids by the carousel, stroll down toward Main Street, then rotate back through to the tunnels for breaks. Same loop every day. I'd see the same families, the same kids waiting for their chance to hug Mickey. I even started recognizing parents. One Monday morning, something off happened. I clocked in early for my shift, around 6:30 a.m. Park wasn't opening for hours, but we had an internal event, a big breakfast meet and greet for company executives. Usually, early shifts meant the tunnels were empty, quiet except for the occasional janitor or vendor cart. That morning, though, I wasn't alone. As I walked toward the locker room to get my suit, I noticed someone else down the corridor, far at the end of the hallway, standing perfectly still, facing the wall. At first I thought it was a maintenance guy or another performer in costume already, but as I got closer, I realized they were in a full Mickey suit. Except, something about it was wrong. I couldn't explain it. The proportions weren't right. The head looked older, maybe faded. The ears were slightly lopsided, like one had been sewn on wrong. The gloves were grayish, not bright white, and he wasn't moving. I stopped about 20 feet away. "Hey, you good, man?" I called. No answer. He didn't turn, didn't flinch. We weren't supposed to stand around like that. Disney's really strict about procedures, especially in costume. I stepped a little closer. "You okay?" Still nothing. That uneasy feeling crawled up my spine, the one you get when something's just off. I decided to walk around him, heading toward the locker room. I kept glancing over my shoulder. He never moved. When I reached the changing room, my coworker Marissa was sitting at her locker scrolling through her phone. "Hey, Marissa," I said, trying to sound casual. "Is there another Mickey shift today?" Thought I was the only one. She looked up, confused. "You are. They never double up characters on the same route." I paused. "You sure?" "Yeah," she frowned. "Why?" I hesitated. I saw someone in the tunnel, in a Mickey costume, just standing there. She set her phone down. "No way. Nobody's scheduled, and the costumes are locked up here." I glanced at the costume rack. Every Mickey head was accounted for. A chill rippled through me. "You're messing with me, right?" she asked. I shook my head. We both stood and walked back out into the tunnel. He was gone. Only an empty hallway stretched before us. At first, I chalked it up to exhaustion, long hours, heat exhaustion, caffeine withdrawal. Maybe I'd seen a shadow, or a mannequin someone left out. But over the next few weeks, it kept happening. I'd glimpse him from across a hallway, always distant, always just standing there, never speaking, never waving. Once, I saw him at the far end of a maintenance hall as I walked toward the elevator. By the time I reached the spot, nothing, just stale air and the faint scent of old fabric. I stopped telling people. The first few times, Marissa and my friend Devin came with me to check, but he was always gone. Eventually, they joked I had a phantom Mickey. "Maybe it's Walt haunting you," Devin laughed one night over beers. I laughed too, but inside, I wasn't sure. Because sometimes I'd find footprints, big, round shoe prints, leading down dusty side corridors, ending at blank walls. Once, I followed them to a locked maintenance door. I rattled the handle. Nobody answered, but I swear, I heard breathing inside. Then came the day that changed everything. It was a Sunday. Park was packed, hot. I'd just finished my noon shift and was heading back down to the tunnels to grab water and cool off. The hallways were bustling, janitors, vendors, other performers crossing between zones. And there he was, standing at the junction near the Fantasyland exit, facing the wall again. But this time, he turned. Slowly, deliberately. I froze. Through the mesh eyes of the Mickey head, I couldn't see a face, just dark voids. He raised his arm, waved. A slow, stiff wave. Something in me snapped. I marched toward him, adrenaline flooding my veins. "Who are you?" I demanded. He didn't reply. I got within 10 feet, 5. Then I noticed something. The fabric on the costume was wrong. Older, coarser, like vintage felt, faded and fraying. And the smell. Musty, like old attic trunks, decay. "I'm talking to you," I snapped. He slowly tilted his head. And then, he sprinted, bolted down the side corridor. I chased him. "Hey!" We tore down the hallway, turning corners, deeper into the underbelly of the park, past unused dressing rooms, old storage lockers. The air grew cooler, damper. Finally, he darted into a door marked authorized personnel only. I followed. Beyond the door was a small room. Empty. No Mickey. No exit. Just peeling wallpaper, an old wooden chair, and a wall covered in photos. I stepped closer. They were Polaroids. Of kids. Dozens of them, all smiling, hugging Mickey Mouse. But something was wrong in every picture. The Mickey in the photos wasn't the modern costume. It was older, cruder, the same faded, fraying suit I'd seen. And in each photo, his head was turned, facing away from the camera, every time. A shiver raced through me. I heard footsteps behind me. Spun around. Nobody. When I turned back, the photos were gone. Just a blank wall. I stumbled backward, heart hammering. That was the last time I saw him. But sometimes, late at night, when I dream about the tunnels, I swear I still hear his footsteps. And every time I visit the park as a guest, I catch glimpses of him, standing at the end of a hallway, waiting, watching, asterisk asterisk. And sometimes, I wonder if anyone else can see him, or if he's only waiting for me. The disappearing child. I took my daughter to Disneyland for her 7th birthday last summer. It was supposed to be a perfect day, a magical memory she'd carry forever. And for the most part, it was. We hit every ride she wanted, ate all the overpriced snacks, and filled our souvenir bag with plush toys and mouse ears. But there's one moment I can't forget, and sometimes, when I lie awake at night, I wonder if I imagined it, or if something far darker happened. We'd been in the park since morning, and around 4 p.m., my daughter insisted we ride It's a Small World. I'd always hated that ride. The endless song, the unsettling dolls, the claustrophobic boat, but she loved it, and it was her day. We waited about 20 minutes in line. The sun was starting to dip, casting golden light over the park. Everything felt warm, bright, safe. I snapped pictures of her excited face as we boarded the little boat. P1. We drifted into the dark tunnel. The familiar song started looping. My daughter clapped her hands, humming along. At first, everything seemed normal. But about halfway through the ride, in the Asia section, I noticed something odd. Behind the row of dancing dolls, tigers, dragons, lanterns, I caught sight of someone. Not a doll. A child. Standing completely still behind the set. He wasn't moving, just standing there. His clothes weren't part of the costume theme. He wore a plain blue t-shirt, shorts, pale skin, short dark hair. At first I thought, maybe he was part of the show, an animatronic I'd never noticed. But his eyes, they were wide, glassy, staring straight at the passing boats. "Sweetheart, do you see that kid?" I whispered to my daughter. She squinted. "What kid?" "He's behind the dragon." She giggled. "There's no kid, Daddy." I looked again. He was gone. The space where he'd stood was empty. I told myself it was a trick of the light, a shadow, maybe my eyes playing games in the dim ride lighting. But the image stuck with me. When we exited the ride, I pulled aside a cast member. "Hey, quick question," I said. "Is there supposed to be a kid backstage in the Asia section of Small World?" She gave me a polite smile. "No, guests aren't allowed backstage, sir." "No, I mean, I swear I saw someone back there, a little boy." Her smile faded. She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "You're not the first person to say that." I frowned. "Really?" She nodded. "It's kind of a thing. People see a boy back there sometimes, but every time we check, there's nothing, no one." A chill crept down my back. We continued our day, rode Pirates of the Caribbean, bought ice cream, but I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see that pale face staring from the shadows. Later that night, after the fireworks, we stopped by the souvenir shop near the exit. My daughter begged for one last stuffed animal. As we waited in line, I glanced toward the nearby gate leading back toward Fantasyland, and froze. Standing just beyond the gate, in the dim light, was the boy. Same blue t-shirt, same blank stare. He didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. I stepped out of line. "Sir?" the cashier called. "Just a second," I muttered. I pushed open the gate. He turned and ran. I chased after him, through winding paths, past closed kiosks, toward the empty edge of Fantasyland. "Kid, wait," I called. He disappeared around a corner. When I reached it, nothing. Just an empty alley and a closed maintenance door. I stood there, catching my breath, heart pounding. Suddenly, the door creaked open a few inches. I stepped forward. Inside was darkness, but deep in the shadows, I saw eyes staring back. Then the door slammed shut. I ran back toward the main walkway, found a security guard, breathlessly explained what happened. They searched. No boy. No signs anyone had entered. A few days later, curiosity got the better of me. I Googled "It's a Small World Ghost Boy" and found stories. Dozens of them. People describing the same figure. A pale boy in a blue shirt. Always silent. Always watching. Some claimed he was a lost child from the 80s. Others said he drowned in the waterway during construction. No official record exists. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see him standing there, watching, waiting. And every time I take my daughter back to Disneyland, I avoid Small World, because I know he's still there. And maybe next time, he won't just watch, he'll follow. The tunnel at night. Back in college, I landed an internship at Disneyland's security department. It wasn't glamorous, mostly camera monitoring and patrols, but I loved it. Being behind the scenes of the park felt like peeking behind the curtain of a magic trick. One of our duties was locking down the park after closing. We'd check gates, sweep rides, and make sure nobody was sneaking around where they shouldn't be. Pretty routine stuff. Except for one night. A night I've never forgotten. We'd wrapped up most of our rounds when a call came in over the radio. "Can someone check Tunnel 7? Door alarm tripped." Tunnel 7 ran beneath Adventureland, a narrow, winding passage used mostly for maintenance carts and staff shortcuts. "Copy," I replied, "heading there now." I grabbed a flashlight and made my way down. The tunnels always creeped me out at night. Echoes seemed to come from nowhere. Lights flickered. Every sound felt amplified. When I reached the entrance to Tunnel 7, the door was slightly ajar. "Security," I called out. "Anyone in here?" No answer. I stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind me, leaving me in dim, humming silence. I swept my flashlight across the walls. Nothing but pipes, wires, and utility boxes. About 50 feet in, I heard it. A shuffle. I froze. Hello? Silence. Then, from further down the tunnel, a faint whisper. Help me. My skin prickled. I swallowed hard. Where are you? I called. No reply. I moved cautiously forward, every step echoing louder than the last. Then I heard it again. Help me. But it wasn't ahead. It was above. I angled my flashlight upward, toward the ceiling vent. For a brief second, I saw a face. Pale. Eyes wide. Mouth open. Staring down at me. Then it vanished. I stumbled back, heart hammering. Base, I've got something in Tunnel 7. Request backup. Copy. Units en route. I kept the light trained on the vent, but nothing reappeared. When backup arrived, we searched the entire tunnel. Nothing. No sign of entry. No prints. No access from the vent. Just stale air and silence. Later that night, reviewing the security footage, something caught my eye. On the camera outside Tunnel 7, about 5 minutes before the alarm triggered, a figure walked toward the door, wearing a faded Mickey Mouse costume. But here's the thing. The park didn't have any Mickey performers scheduled that late. In the costume, it wasn't the current design. It was older, vintage. And as the figure approached the camera, it looked up, straight at the lens, and smiled, then walked through the door, and never appeared inside. We rewound the footage over and over. He never came out, never showed up inside, just vanished. That was my last night working the tunnels. Every time I visit the park now, I glance toward the Adventureland side entrance. And sometimes, late at night, I swear I see him, standing at the door, waiting, watching.